Hey folks, Dolph Andale here, and I thought I would do the vinyl tag in late February. What are you gonna do? Sometimes life just gets in the way, and I knew it was going to be a rough start to this year, and it has been, and yeah, but they're good questions. I haven't done them. Why not? Right, Jake? Let's just do this vinyl tag. Better late than never. Yeah, that's my buddy. Thank you for the support, Jake. Anyway, so one of the reasons I decided to go ahead and do the vinyl tag, even though I'm so incredibly late with it, is because I felt like it, as I was answering the questions, that kind of a theme was running through it, and it was becoming more personal, and I thought, that's kind of what I hope comes out of it. I enjoy watching videos where other vinyl community members music community members are being personable, and you get to see what they like, what they think, what they, get to know them as a person. And so we're going to jump right in here and give it a whirl. So, favorite release of 2022. There were a couple albums that I had in mind, but only one of them were available on vinyl. And that's Larkin and Poe, Blood Harmony. Great group. And I kind of discovered them watching another vinyl community member whose last name's escaping me, Richard. And I guess I'm going to have to come back with a subtitle with his name. I'll also link his channel in the description. But not only did I kind of discover Larkin Poe through him several years ago, he was showing this album, and it kind of helped me make up my mind whether I wanted to pick this up on vinyl or not. And it is a great album, and yeah, his recommendation to get it was spot on. So, Larkin and Poe, Blood Harmony. Last band or solo artist that I saw live, and that would be Russ Taff. Usually every fall, I go down to Russ and Tori Taff Bell Buckle Weekend, and that's where I saw him, along with some other great artists like Jamie Paul, Kevin Pauls, and Gary Chapman was there, and Reggie Ham, and I know I'm forgetting some. Bonnie Keene was there. Bonnie sang in the group First Call. A lot of great artists, but I go there because Russ is my favorite artist, bar none. In my opinion, the greatest singer on the planet. So yeah, that's who I saw last. First album was their best, and I thought long and hard and came up with Magdalene, Big Bang. Now, a lot of people may be wondering, who in the world is Magdalene? If you're familiar with Ken Tamplin, he did this album with Laney Cordola, who played guitar in House of Lords. And it's absolutely spectacular. Now, I think they only made one more studio album after this, and it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't up to the level of this album, which is outstanding. Ken had left the group, and Laney kind of took it over and I think they changed a couple of the letters and the name of the group, but yeah, this is an outstanding album, and easily the best that they did. The next question was show a hat trick. Well, we're going to do this album. This is DeGarmo Key, D&K, one of my all-time favorite Christian rock albums. Yeah, this group was just on fire when they made this album. I also have it on CD, and I've got it on cassette, and that is autographed by the entire band. And a prized possession of mine. So, great album, and I guess it's also meaningful to me because most of my DeGarmo and Key collection has been out to Arizona and back for Scott to scan, Scott Waters to scan for the reissues that Girder Music did for DeGarmo and Key. And thanks Scott for including me in that, so I could even, it's nice to even just have a little part in being able to see reissues of albums that you love come to light. The next question is show an album that starts and ends with the same letter. I pulled this. This is Forerunner, AKA. And of course, AKA meaning also known as. And for this band, that also known as means the Joe English Band. So they recorded this album, you would think, without Joe English. This is basically his band without Joe English. But actually, Joe probably plays drums on at least half of the album, if not more. So, and you may be thinking, I've never heard of these guys. They're not well known. They weren't super big. There are a couple things that you should know. One, Joe English was Paul McCartney's drummer at one point in Wings. The other one is that the guy in the middle here with the keyboard on his shirt is John Lowry, and this is a pre-Petra John Lowry. He'd go on to be, I guess, the best known of all of Petra's keyboardists. I don't know how many they've had. He's probably the longest lasting and the best known. Someone born in the same year as yourself. My answer for this is always Martina McBride. We were not only born in the same year, we were born on the same day, July 29th of 1966. So, yeah. And I'm not big on CMT type country acts, but I like Martina. She's got an incredible voice. So for the next couple questions, I'm going to take a little different approach. The questions were most listened to album in 2022 and most listened to artist in 2022. Well, that's be kind of hard for me to answer. I'm not really sure. I never thought to even try to keep up with that really. And but I did get one measurable, and that was from YouTube Music, which is, since I have a premium membership with them because I hate ads. I listen to that going and coming from work as I'm riding on the bus. So they sent me kind of a year end. So at least for my commutes to wherever I'm going in the city on the bus, these would be the answers for those, because I guess they are measured since that's the way I listen to music. And the most listened to album in 2022, they gave me 3. The first one being Believe, Russ Taff, his praise and worship album from a couple of years ago. Probably not a big surprise there, because a lot of times if I've been somewhere, especially work, and I'm stressed, that kind of album calms me down, mellows me out, gives me some peace. The second album, no surprise, Russ Taff, um, Walls of Glass. And that was my introduction to Russ, and I got to listening to it a lot last year. The third one being The Way Home. And that's another one of my favorite albums. There are a lot of cuts on that I really play over and over again. I was a little surprised Under Their Influence by Russ Taff didn't make it in. It wouldn't surprise me if that was number 4. I didn't get a 4, but it wouldn't surprise me because that's a great album too. But so there you have the album. As far as artist, again, Russ Taff. I got a graphic I couldn't find it again, but I had one graphic that told me I was in the top 2% of Russ Taff listeners on YouTube music. And it listed some other artists that I listen to a lot, just to kind of show you how all over the place my listening habits are. So I've got Russ Taff, a gospel singer, in the number 1 spot, and the number 2 spot was Megadeth. And I think Joe Satriani was in the top 5. I believe Tommy Shaw might have been up there. I can't remember, but I'll put the graphic up so you can look at it. And see what I was listening to. The next question is Australian band or artist, and for that I have Mortification. It's extreme metal. I don't know how. I can't really tell you. Is it death metal? I'm not sure. I'm not really. This is about the hardest stuff I listen to. And I'm not sure where it falls exactly. It's extreme. It's pretty hard. Record that people would be surprised that I purchased in 2022. I found this in a sale. My mom used to listen to them a lot. After showing Mortification, yeah, now you see what kind of a all over the place I am. What's Kenny G live? And I'm not gonna pretend like I don't like it a little bit. I do. It's calming. It's the one thing. The one issue I've had with Kenny G is he's not jazz. He is a pop saxophonist, and yeah, I'm one of those. I try not to be an elitist about things. It's okay every now and then, and if people really love them, more power to them. I've tried to take that philosophy with musicians and artists that I don't always get, but at the end of the day, if somebody's having a bad week, having a bad day at the job, come home, and whatever they throw on that record player, if it takes them someplace where they can calm down and just enjoy, then I'm all for it. And but yeah, there's some stuff on here I really like, and it's just not jazz. So next question is a band or artist that you're complete on in your collection. And so let's go back to Garmon Key. This is a much earlier album than what I showed earlier. This is I believe their second album, Straight On. This is one of the albums that I sent to Scott to get a scan of as they were starting to reissue some of Garmon Key's catalog. And but yeah, I don't think there's anything of theirs that I don't own, at least on either vinyl or CD1. The next question is show a run of 3 great albums. And so for that question, I picked the Imperials. And yes, it was during the time that Russ Taff was their lead singer. So I'm going to start with Heed the Call. This was the original cover. This was the second cover that they came up with. And this starts off a trio of great albums. This had Praise the Lord on it, which was Song of the Year. Just an iconic song. And they were starting to really pick up steam. I think they won a Grammy or 2 off of this album, which led to them then getting a producer by the name of Michael Omartian, who helped produce this album, One More Song for You. Some more iconic songs from this band. Here's a picture on the back. That is Michael Omartian. And he, if you look him up, man, he was producing a lot of big artists at that time. Rod Stewart was really big at that time. He was producing him and Christopher Cross. And yeah, during the big hits that Christopher Cross was having at the time. Yeah, so this has got What Can I Do For You on it, Eagle Song, Higher Power, just some really, really great stuff. I'm Forgiven. And that led to the recording of Priority. And yeah, by this time, Russ was singing probably 90% of the leads. A lot of Jim Murray was getting the others, and they were splitting a few songs. And yeah, this was produced by Omartian as well, and it would be the last album that Russ would do with them before he would leave. And I should also mention at this point that unfortunately we lost the group leader Armin Morales back in, I believe it was December. And when he passed, Russ on his social media, thanked Armin for his career, and that got me to thinking that really, when you look at it, Armin introduced us to a lot of great vocalists, not just Russ, but also guys like Sherman Andrus, Ron Hemby, Jimmy Lee, and Paul Smith. Just a lot of great vocalists have come through this group, and so yeah, thanks Armin for all that you did for gospel music and for bringing us great singers through it. The next question is favorite 80s soundtrack. Well, there's some great soundtracks out of the 80s. This is the best as far as I'm concerned. The Blues Brothers, man. And I got this pressing. Couldn't pass it up. On blue vinyl. Love it. My favorite movie of all time as well. Just spectacular. The next question is, we lost them in 2022, and man, that's tough on a lot of us that really love Christian metal, because we lost 2 of the best. The first was Michael Bloodgood, from the Christian metal group Bloodgood. This is Michael here. He had a stroke early in the year, and thought he was recovering, but then we got the news right around my birthday, I believe, that that he had passed. And yeah, so no more Bloodgood. Les Carlson, who's the lead singer right here, has already said there won't be a Bloodgood without Michael Bloodgood, and I think that's the right decision. I just hate that he's gone, because this album, Dangerously Close, was exceptional, and I felt like Bloodgood had more good albums in them, and I will miss these guys. These guys were probably the second Christian metal band I got into after Stryper, and they meant so much to me. Yeah. The next gentleman that we lost was Ted Kirkpatrick of Tourniquet. Yeah, this is the band that showed me I had a love for thrash. And Ted was a nice guy. I had little interaction with them on the internet. Whenever I did, it was always great. I had been looking for this album for a long time, and it popped up in a flash sale he was doing, and he messaged me and said, "Do you want it autographed?" And I said yes, so he autographed it for me. But yeah, he was such a talented musician, and gone too soon as far as I'm concerned. Though I know God's in control. I know that his timing's perfect, but sometimes even when his timing's perfect, it doesn't feel perfect. And this is one of those times. It just felt like he was working on an album when he passed, and I'll miss him. I'll miss his music. What are you going to do? Most disappointing purchase in 2022. It'd have to be this: Deliverance, Camelot and Smithereens Redux. And it's a great album. Great CD. Why is it disappointing? Because stupid me forgot that there's a deluxe edition of this that has a DVD and everything with it. And I want that one. So, yeah, this is a great... I love Deliverance, man. They're one of my favorite metal bands. And this album turned out awesome. But yeah, I really wanted the deluxe edition. That's why that's a disappointment. Non-vinyl purchase. Well, I guess I just showed one, but I'm going to show you something else now. This is Margaret Britton Vaughn. I got a CD of hers, and I got a book called You're Laughing, Ain't You, God? And Miss Vaughn, Margaret Britton Vaughn, is the Poet Laureate of the state of Tennessee. And she resides in Bell Buckle. So whenever I go down for Russ and Tori Taff Bell Buckle weekend, she usually makes an appearance. And she did this year. And I picked up some of her stuff because I love listening to her poetry. She really has a down-to-earth way about her, and she's a bit of a rascal, so yeah, enjoy her a great deal. And while I was down there this year talking to her, I didn't know it, but she was good friends with Loretta Lynn, who we lost this year, Kentucky girl that we lost this year. And she told me that she had written with Loretta Lynn. And so I came back and looked, and sure enough, we've got a song on this album. What is this called? One's on the Way. And I got to looking at it, and yeah. I don't know if my we're not going to get that in there. But she's credited right here, Loretta Lynn and M. Vaughn. So that would be Maggie Vaughn. So I guess I'm going to have to keep my eyes open for her name whenever I pick up more Loretta Lynn albums, which I hope to do quite often. You found a grail. We toss around that word grail a lot, and but I guess this will qualify. Kiss Alive, the Millennial Concert. I've been wanting this for years, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if they pressed some more, but it seemed like there were some that popped up, and I managed to get my hands on one. And yeah, so I would consider this was probably the closest thing I got to a grail. Well, maybe number 19, but I didn't know 19 was even a possibility. Talking about question 19, so you got to bear with me. But yeah, I was wanting this album for quite some time. Space theme album or song? Well, why don't we take a look at this? I don't often show these on here. This is Ace Frehley. This is a picture disc for the single Space Truckin' from his last album. Great video, and the picture disc has some of the artwork from that animated video. I'll pull it out so that it's a little more, so you can see it a little bit better. And then there's the other side. But great video, great cover. And yeah, when I think of space, I always think of Space Ace Frehley. So here we go. This is number 19. And number 19 is Show Some VCLT or A Gift. And Russ Taff is not a member of the vinyl community, so I guess this would have to be considered a gift. Man, I'm telling you, as I think about how to tell this, I just can't really believe it myself. So every year, or well, for several years, I was going down to Bell Buckle, Tennessee. It was started for me, it started in 2017. I remember that because my mother passed early in the year. And I ended up going up there, or going down there that October. They were having it in October at that point, and just thinking how much my mother would have enjoyed that weekend. And I had a blast. There were so many people I was meeting and becoming almost kind of collecting a bell buckle family. And went the next year and the following year. But then COVID happened. And I didn't go that year because I'm 56. Well, at that time I was 54. High blood pressure. No vaccine yet. So I was just thinking, I don't like my chances if I get it. So I didn't go. The next year, we had the vaccine. I felt a lot more comfortable that my odds at least would be a lot better if I got it. So that really wasn't an issue. I was working, I had started working a new job doing what? Screening people for COVID at a health facility. And so, having just started, wanting to make a good impression, and trying to catch up on bills, I didn't go again that year either. So when I went back this past November, it was the first time I had been in 3 years. And, everybody was glad to see me. So this is where it gets a little surreal for me because, we all have our favorite artist in the vinyl community. And a lot of times, that's kind of how you remember remember who's who because you remember their favorite artist. And no different here. I'm the Russ Taff guy in the vinyl community. That's what people probably remember me for is Russ Taff, maybe Samantha Fish, you know, maybe Phil Keaggy. But definitely Russ. Everybody knows that I'm a big Russ fan. So it's been good getting to know them, and it's kind of surreal when you walk in and, you know, like I said, I've developed quite the family down there. But, you know, I saw Tori first on Saturday night, and she gave me a hug. She was talking to some other people. We didn't even exchange words, but, you know, there was enough there that I knew she saw me. I knew that she appreciated that I was there. Uh, that's pretty cool when you know somebody well enough to where you don't really have to say a whole lot. You just know that people care. And it was no different when I walked up to Russ Sunday afternoon as it's all kind of winding down. And I had a bunch of records that I got signed. You may have saw Jeff McCormick with one on his channel. I sent out a number of them. I will collect albums, Imperials and Russ Taff albums, and then I also gave a few away to a few folks there. And man, there was one guy I wish I had given a record to. I'm going to have to fix that next year. But that's an aside. Yeah, so I walked up to Russ. I already knew I had gotten a message from Tori that I don't know if she was trying to throw me off or what. She had said that, asked me if I had a VCR and that she had something for me. All right, so I get up there. Russ sees me. He immediately, gives me a big hug, and we start to talk. And he knows I've been through a tough time. He mentioned that. And before we started to break up and go our ways, he said, "I've got something for you at the house." And in Bell Buckle, it's not that far. So Dave and I just got in behind him and said, "You don't have to come back down here. We'll just follow you up there." And so here's Russ Taff. Now, if I haven't talked about what he's accomplished, he's a 3-time Gospel Music Hall of Fame inductee. Once as a solo artist, and once with Imperials, once with the Gaither Vocal Band. He's also won like 6 Grammys, and I think 18 Dove Awards. This guy, and he, I don't know. All right, so we follow him up, and this is where it really blows my mind. He comes out, and he's holding something white. That's not a VCR. That's not a VCR tape. I knew it was a record. I just was, and it should have clicked in my head what it was immediately, because I've got a couple of these. Eric Weinbender sent me a test pressing of Mylon Lefevre. I've got another test pressing of Lois Jane. Why didn't I recognize this was a test pressing? I don't know. I guess my brain just shut off for a minute. So I'm standing in Russ Taff's driveway, and he's handing me this, and he's saying, "We found this. We know you're a collector," and they do. I've sent Russ. Well, I sent him a European album that he was on that he had never even seen before. I got him a copy. So we know you're a collector. We thought we could hang on to this, but we thought you would enjoy this more. And he said, "This is a test pressing of my first solo album, Walls of Glass." My, oh, wow. Really? A test pressing of Walls of Glass. First of all, Walls of Glass is this album. It was the first album that I ever heard Russ sing on, where he blew my mind. My youth music director brought this on a spring break tour that we did. We went to Myrtle Beach and sang in some churches, and he had recorded this album. He had the vinyl and recorded it to a cassette tape, and he made the mistake of giving it to me, and he never got it back the rest of the trip. And yeah, this thing's amazing. He won a Grammy for this. Had James Brown compliment him on his acceptance speech for the Grammy he won for this. Yeah. There are guys, Jeff Pecora from Toto played on this. A lot of other session players that you would see on all kinds of records that you probably have at home played on this. Yeah, this is easily the most impactful record that I've ever listened to. It really changed the way I viewed music. It changed some of my theology. Got me thinking about things that I hadn't really thought about before. And now I have this, and it's a little rough. I'm not going to lie about that. The album looks a little rough. It's got some deep grooves in it, but this is the test pressing. I will clean it up. I don't know how much of it I'll actually play. I may play just a little bit, just to have heard it once, but then my plan then is to put it in a black polyline sleeve and put it in a frame along with this copy. I'm going to take the record and put this record in a frame, and then put the cover in a frame and put them side by side, and put it so you can see the label of this record and the test pressing through the glass. And that's the plan. May try to look for some other ways to dress it up a little bit too, because it's such a special record. But man, I'm just so blown away. And I guess that's what I love about part of what I love about gospel music and Christianity too, because it's not just about artist fan. It's two Christian brothers, caring about one another and doing things for one another, praying for one another, and that can happen. I can't envision a lot of musicians out there having that kind of relationship with their fans. I mean, I guess it happens, but yeah. So it's special and it's amazing. I still can't believe if I had a time machine and could tell my 17-year-old self, one day you'll stand in Russ Taff's driveway and he'll hand you a test pressing of his first solo album. What? No, get out of here. No, I probably could have gone back just 3 days and told myself that, and it wouldn't have registered. So, but yeah, that just blew my mind. And if this video is running long because of that story, I'm sorry, but I've been looking for an opportunity to share it. This seemed like the perfect time. All right. So let's wrap this with the final one. since I was talking about Maggie Vaughn and her being a rascal, let's be a little non-PC with this last one we had. The last question is: show a record released in 1973. How about this one? Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash. Johnny Cash and his woman. I probably wouldn't get away with that one today, Johnny. Sorry, but yeah. Come on, it's funny. So that's my vinyl tag for this year. Sorry it's so late, but that's life. And so if you've stuck it out this far, thank you. And yeah, come back and see some of the content I put up this year. I promise I'm really gonna try to get some more stuff done. I haven't been very active the first month or so, but we're going to work on that. So again, thank you for being here. Hope that you're doing well. And until we do this again, peace.